Hey guys, Crispy Bacon here with what may be the most powerful Titan build I have ever created, and I call it Nox ad Infinitum. Let's take a look. Let's start by talking about each piece of gear required for this setup so you can go ahead and start building it yourself. In the primary slot, we'll be using one of Shadowkeep's new exotic weapons known as the Monte Carlo. This weapon can be obtained from any exotic drop source in the game and can also be sold by Zur, who appears in the game between Friday and Tuesday. In the special slot, we'll be going with an old classic, the Ikelos shotgun. This weapon can be farmed for in the Escalation Protocol activity on Mars, but only drops certain weeks, so make sure you check online to ensure that you're fighting the right boss to drop this weapon. Lastly, in our heavy slot, you can use whatever your favorite heavy weapon is. Mine still remains to be Swarm of the Raven with field prep and spike grenades, but I'm hoping that someday one heavy weapon will come along to change that. The armor set for this build consists of a full legendary set with Doomfang pauldrons as our exotic gauntlet. Similar to Monte Carlo, the Doomfang pauldrons can be found from any exotic drop source in the game and can also be bought from Zur as well. As for regular stats and mods, we'll want to prioritize mobility and intellect. We'll want an intellect mod on our helmet, arms, and legs, and then we'll also want a hands-on mod on our mark. As for the artifact mods for this build, we'll be using the Overload Grenades and Disruptor Spike mods on our chest piece, and then when we're in solo play, we'll be using the From the Depths mod on our Titan mark, and then when we're in team play, we'll be using the Oppressive Darkness mod. For those unfamiliar with the Gatelord's Eye artifact, just make sure you're playing the game and earning XP, and eventually you will unlock all of these mods, but again the important mods to consider here are Overload Grenades, Disruptor Spike, From the Depths, and Oppressive Darkness. And lastly, thanks so much for sticking around, we are going to be using the Bottom Tree Sentinel Titan, known as Code of the Aggressor. As for my grenade choice, I tend to prefer Void Wall Grenade in every activity in the game, and then as for barricades I use Towering Barricade for PvP, and then Rally Barricade for PvE. Appreciate you sticking around for the build explanation, but now let's talk about what this build can actually do. So the problem here is that you're not going to believe me when I tell you. With this setup, we can gain our super within 15 seconds, and once we get that super, we can make it last indefinitely. And you may not believe me, so let me show you the true power of this build. Friendly hint, keep your eye on the super meter. Ladies and gentlemen, what you just witnessed was a 15-second super and the first synergy for this build. To clarify again, we went from 0 super energy to full super energy within about 15 seconds. So the best thing to do now is to talk about what made this all possible. There are 3 main components with this build that leads to the insane super gain. The first and most important of the 3 is Doomfang Pauldron. Doomfang Pauldron's exotic perk, Horns of Doom, mentions that void melee kills give super energy. This means that for every melee ability that we get a kill with on our Void subclass, we are getting a huge chunk of super energy. In our case, this melee ability will be known as Shield Bash, which is a melee ability that activates after sprinting for a short time, and in this case of Code of the Aggressor, this Shield Bash attack actually stuns enemies, which is really great on major enemies that you need to just put down without them retaliating. And while we're here, the next perk that helps us with our super gain is called In the Trenches. Kills while surrounded by enemies reduce the cooldown of your super. Now this synergizes absolutely perfectly with the Doomfang Pauldrons, since we'll need to be within melee distance to be getting that extra super energy from those melee ability kills. And if that wasn't enough, the Shield Bash ability actually does an AoE damage effect, which means that when we run at one enemy and use Shield Bash, we can actually kill multiple, which is perfect for proccing the extra super gain from In the Trenches. So we are getting a lot of super energy from these melee kills within close range, so what mod would be better than the hands-on mod? This mod is pretty simple, as it states, you gain bonus super energy on melee kills. There's not a whole lot to say about this mod, besides the fact that it synergizes with our setup perfectly, and just adds more super energy to our already fantastic super gain. So we want to be meleeing all the time, but the problem is that melees have a cooldown, so how do we fix that problem? Well, it's actually a simple fix now that we have Shadowkeep, because we have the weapon Monte Carlo. Dealing damage with this weapon reduces your melee cooldown and grants a chance to fully charge your melee ability with each kill. In my testing, this weapon's chance to automatically refresh your melee cooldown seems to be about 30%, but even if that random chance does not proc often for you, you can just keep shooting at an enemy and eventually your melee cooldown will come back much faster than it normally would. Our next set of synergies exists between our heavy melee playstyle and our primary and special weapons. For Monte Carlo, that is Markov Chain. This weapon gains increased damage from melee kills and kills with this weapon. Melee kills grant ammo for this weapon. Markov Chain maxes out at ×5, and this means that anytime we kill an enemy with Shield Bash, Markov Chain is going up to that ×5 multiplier, meaning we're gaining the maximum damage possible with Monte Carlo. Additionally, for each kill with Shield Bash, Monte Carlo will be fully reloaded, and this ammo will actually be generated, so we will never be running out of ammo for the Monte Carlo, and it will be automatically reloaded with each melee kill. As for the Carlo shotgun, this synergy lies within the Trench Barrel perk. After a successful melee hit, this weapon gains increased damage, handling, and reload speed for a short duration, or until 3 shots are fired. This means that if we hit an enemy with Shield Bash and it doesn't die, we can easily follow up with the Carlo shotgun to absolutely demolish it. And this is even easier with the Shield Bash perk because every time we hit an enemy with that melee attack, they are being stunned, which means that they are not retaliating and they're walking slower, which just makes them an easy target for the shotgun. Before I talk about the final artifact mod synergies with this build, I wanted to circle back and talk about Doomfang pauldrons. You're probably all still wondering about that whole infinite super thing I had mentioned earlier, and that really just exists between the Doomfang pauldrons and the bottom tree sentinel, Code of the Aggressor. With the Doomfang pauldrons perk, while Sentinel Shield is active, melee kills recharge Shield Throw, and that extends your super on hits. And with the Code of the Aggressor skill tree, we actually gain a second shield charge. This second shield is really helpful because just having a second shield means that we'll get double the super gain and recharge rate every time we're hitting an enemy. And if that was not enough for you, we've also got the perk Superior Arsenal, which says grenade kills recharge your grenade energy. And that may sound irrelevant right now, but it is actually not. Interestingly enough, our shield throw attack while we're in our super is actually coded as a grenade. This means that every time we are getting a kill with shield throw, the shield throw itself is actually recharging, and when we combo this with our second shield as well as Doomfang pauldrons, we have this kind of infinite combo that keeps our super going forever. And funny enough, I do actually mean forever. For the sake of this video and for science, I stepped into the Tribute Hall and ended up supering enemies for 10 minutes straight. This was actually pretty easy to accomplish, and the only reason I stopped at 10 minutes was because I was tired and I really didn't feel like doing it anymore. The super does not drain any faster as time goes on, and I'm very confident that you could infinitely keep this super up as long as you have the right enemies to deal with. So we have 15-second super gain, we have infinite supers once we do get that super, and you'd think it would end there. Well, my friends, we have yet to even talk about the From the Depths mod that exists on our Titan Mark. This mod grants bonus void super damage if cast while critically wounded, and lasts until the end of the super activation. What this means is if we activate Sentinel Shield while we're critically wounded, we are gaining a 30% damage buff for the entirety of our super. And as we just discussed, these supers can last a very long time, and the From the Depths perk never deactivates, meaning that it will stay active for the entirety of the super. Critically wounding yourself is as simple as standing near a boss and being attacked by the stomp attack, or by standing near a group of mobs. Or if you want to activate it manually, you can always shoot the ground with a grenade launcher, or use a ricochet rounds weapon in your secondary slot to instantly critically wound yourself. This is the main combo that you'll be using for the majority of your play sessions, and when I was looking for gameplay for this build, I actually kind of found it hard to get good weapon gameplay because I was in my super so often. I actually had my super so much that I was using it just to help myself get around the map faster, which is actually pretty ludicrous if you think about it. But when I was playing with the team, I found myself switching back over to the Oppressive Darkness mod, which means that every grenade thrown gives everyone a 30% damage boost against that target. And with the addition of Overload Grenades, Disruptor Spike, and Superior Arsenal, this really made our grenades a force to be reckoned with. And it really rounds out the gameplay style because in addition to our weapons in melee and super, we also have relatively strong grenades. I also found myself having a ton of heavy ammo by the end of activities because basically the entire activity I was just using my super, so I never had to use any heavy. I got to stock it up for the final boss fight, which really helped out with damage. last thing to mention that's kind of a bummer. The Sentinel Shield Throw does count as grenades for the subclass tree perks, but it actually does not count as a grenade for the artifact mods, meaning that you cannot apply Oppressive Darkness or Overload Grenades or Disruptor Spike with the Shield Throw. But hey guys, that is the end of the build. This one turned out to be quite a doozy, so thanks so much for sticking around to the end. Just wanted to mention that the support on my last Warlock video has been absolutely outstanding and really has helped my channel grow. So I just want to say thank you all for leaving your kind comments and supporting the channel through joining the Discord and following me on Twitch and subscribing. Again, if you have any questions or just want to chat or see more builds like this, follow me on Twitch and also join up on the Discord. We'd love to talk to you there. But as always guys, thank you so much for watching and have a good one.
We thank you, Guardian, and we will never forget.